and welcome to another Ready Moveset Go spinoff. As always, I'm your host, John at Room 100, and with the series coming to a close, I wanted to put together two more compilations of the movesets I've made for the show. In this episode, I'll be covering episodes 6 through 10, along with my backup movesets for each theme. Let's get right into it. This time around, we're starting with episode 6's theme of mech fighters. This was a really tricky theme to work with, not only in fighter selection, but also mechanically. There are some key elements like a lock-on or aiming mechanic that feel necessary for a mech moveset that would be easy enough, but the problems start when you look at the scale of these things. They're huge, and if done poorly could break the game. It was important to work with the scaling and make the character kind of feel like a boss fight without being consistently massive. For this task, I chose a challenging boss from a game that I love, Dr. Kahl from Cuphead. Starting out, Dr. Kahl would appear as he does in the final phase of the fight, piloting the head of the robot similar to Eggman or Dr. Wily. Probably a little faster, but a little lighter than Bowser Jr., slightly hovering off the ground. Kahl wouldn't really get too involved, letting the robot do all the work. Basic attacks would be simple punches and hammer fists with the arm and glove that comes out of the robot's mouth, while your dash attack would enclose Kahl in the head and have it spin and rocket forward like the second phase of the fight. Your grab would use a magnet to pull enemies in, similar to Pac-Man's grab, and pummel and throw with the same fist. Aerials would also be fairly basic with a strong hovery jump, the only really unique move I detailed being up air using the electrified wall from phase 3 similar to Rosalina's up air. For smash attacks, F smash is his twisting arm attack from phase 1 with good strength and range. Up smash is a vertical laser generating from the small unit in phase 1 similar to Palutena. And down smash is the diamond blast seen in phase 3, changing its color, charging from blue to red, and being a shotgun-like blast that disperses out from the front of the diamond. And for specials, neutral B is the laser from the robot's head in phase 1, aiming with a small skinny line and releasing with a huge wide blast. Side B works like Samus, tilting for these weaker, faster U-shaped missiles in phase 1, and smashing for the stronger skull rockets in phases 1 and 2. Up B is a simple lift-off rocket propulsion recovery like Rob, and down B is a wave of nuts and bolts from the cannon in phase 1, another shotgun-like move that is good for interrupting and keeping enemies away. But so far, Dr. Kahl has just been piloting the head of the robot. When do we get to the real mech part of the moveset? Well, right now. Dr. Kahl's robot mechanic works similarly to Joker's persona. After building up a gauge, Dr. Kahl will be able to fully construct his robot as seen at the start of his boss fight. Pressing Shield B will start the sequence and transform you into a full mech standing about as tall as the tallest battlefield platform. In this form, you essentially become a boss. You're extremely slow with a terrible jump, but your moves receive a sizable buff in power. In this form, most of your moves stay the same except for a few changes. Up air pops the head off and upward briefly before returning to the body, your dash attack simply doesn't work as you only have one speed of movement, and your down smash becomes a deadly stomp. Most importantly, your up B would change to eject, destroying the robot with an explosion and launching the head upwards, returning to your normal state. This would be your main way of changing back to normal, and your only chance at survival should you get forced off a ledge. Otherwise, you'll stay in robot form until you run out of gas, which is hastened by taking consistent damage. This wouldn't happen too quickly though, giving you time to make the most out of your power before returning to your much weaker, much more death-prone state. Lastly, your final smash is called a real high-class bout, triggering a cutscene where the bosses of Cuphead assist you in destroying your opponents. Dr. Kahl would be a super fun choice and is one of the better candidates to implement a full-scale mech to the game, but it's unlikely we'll see a boss from Cuphead join the roster anytime soon. Regardless, there's plenty of cool stage options from a generic traveling inkwell stage to a junkyard just for Kahl, and great palette swap options based on the other bosses. As for backup options, I had two in mind. The first was extremely minimal, being the R-Wing Walker from Star Fox. Technically, I guess this would be called Slippy and Peppy to fill out the crew. This worked on a really basic level, with the lock-on reticle mechanic fitting the theme perfectly, grabbing with the direct eye, and dash attacking with a barrel roll. For specials, I envisioned neutral B as the basic laser cannon, rapid firing at enemies while moving, causing no stun. Side B as charge shot, locking onto and tracking enemies, able to switch targets by flicking your stick. Up B as a hover, and down B as a powerful bomb. Your final smash would even bring in a forgotten, updated classic in the Landmaster. However, the scaling of this was still a bit tricky, and outside of those moves, I really couldn't make a whole moveset. Instead, the other character who I thought could fit the bill much better was Kirby and his mech from Planet Robobot. In a way, we did get to see this moveset in the episode with Nintenjex picking Suzy instead, and since he's actually played the game, that's probably a better call. Still, in my research, I saw a ton of potential in Robobot Kirby, in no small part because Kirby characters tend to translate really easily into Smash, and the scaling of Kirby in the mech made it feel large but reasonably so in scale with other fighters. While not going fully into the moveset, I was able to pull a vast majority of moves straight from the game. His jab would be the basic punch, punch, fist slam. F tilt would be spark mode, firing quick plasma shots while moving akin to Mega Man, and up tilt would be mic mode with a wave of sound blasting above him. Meanwhile, dash attack turns the mech into wheel mode like Bowser Jr.'s side B. He would have 2 jumps and a thruster hover, using Ice Mode's spin attack for Nair, Ice Blast for Fair and Bear, and a Sword Mode's spinning drill dive for Dare. Much like Kahl, he would have a longish range lingering grab using the suit's scan. F smash would be flamethrower, firing forward with a long attack time like Mii Gunner. Up smash enters ESP mode, launching large energy spheres upwards. And down smash is stone mode, dropping 2 huge fists to either side. Neutral B is beam mode, firing bouncing energy projectiles packing some good damage. Side B is cutter mode with boomerang buzzsaws that can be charged to launch quickly. Up B uses parasol mode, recovering basically like K. Rool. And down B is bomb mode, dropping a moving bomb like a Mecha Koopa. And his final smash enters halberd mode, either firing from the background of the stage or trapping enemies in a cutscene before blowing them away. Robobot Kirby is a much simpler take on a mech moveset and would work in the scale of Smash perfectly. Unfortunately, it's unlikely we'd see this game brought in over other highly requested fighters, but if they ever want to bring this archetype to Smash, Robobot would provide a great solution. Moving on to episode 7, the crew and special guest Backseat discuss the concept of a rhythm fighter. Smash discussion is no stranger to this, with characters like the Chorus Kids frequently hot in speculation. The question of a rhythm fighter is how to intrinsically make music and rhythm a core part of the character's fighting style without being too broken or too demanding of the player. This is actually the second answer I've provided for this question, formerly making a Mii Musician moveset that implemented a tempo mechanic with Shield B. You would set your tempo with consistent taps, and matching the tempo would buff your combat. While you could apply that here, I ultimately went more with a simple music rep with rhythm-centric attacks. And for me, few other games screamed rhythm game to me more than Guitar Hero. Axel Steel would be the default skin of the fighter, but like others, each swap would be its own character with the same hitboxes. You'd also have Judy Nails, Johnny Napalm, Pandora, Izzy Sparks, Midori, Xavier Stone, and the Grim Ripper, covering a bunch of genre aesthetics. This moveset would combine physical moves, sound visualizations, and stage theatrics to make you feel like you're constantly jamming out. Any of your guitar moves would be accompanied by short strums or riffs. Jab would be a 2-hit combo with a stab of the headstock and swipe of the body of your guitar. F tilt is a quick, powerful headbang. Up tilt spins your guitar around your body by its strap. And down tilt lets you mosh out with a quick spinning punch downward. Your dash attack would be a classic move sliding on your knees. Into aerials, Nair performs the iconic rocker guitar kick. Fair is a spinning tornado kick. Up is a drill attack. Bear tucks your knees in and spins, striking with the bottom of your guitar. And Dare slams your guitar down, not spiking but causing huge damage, probably to the guitar too. Your throws will get a little more bar fighty, grabbing and punching normally. F throws a huge haymaker punch, up is a 2-hand shove, back hauls enemies over your shoulder, and down raises them over your head and slams them down. For smash attacks, F smash is a big windmill strum of the guitar with a short blast of sound directly in front of you, an extremely strong kill move. Up smash rips a chord on the guitar, stabbing straight up, with pillars of pyro flame rising from both sides. And down smash drops you down into a crabcore stance, blasting both sides with sparks. Now for specials, this is where we get the main rhythm element as well as elements from Guitar Hero's battle mode. Neutral B is called Rock Out. This would have a small track of music notes appear in front of your fighter, represented by different face buttons on your controller. Hitting the correct note sends a powerful sound wave forward, with up to 5 for a huge blast rocking multiple foes. You could also choose to quickly start the move for slower but stronger attacks, or hold and release for a quicker and farther reaching but weaker blast. This is obviously to represent the core gameplay of Guitar Hero. For the others, side B is Overload, shooting a lightning bolt forward that will shock and interrupt players' inputs for a short time. Up B is Angel of Death, spawning huge black wings that lift you upwards before plummeting like Joker with Arsene. And down B is Whammy, slamming on the whammy bar to stun nearby enemies. Finally, your smash attack is called Rock and Roll, placing you on a stage in the center of the battlefield and having you press buttons in time on a track for a huge devastating blast, similar to Donkey Kong's old Conga Final Smash. While we're on the topic of the Final Smash, let's talk about what music Guitar Hero could bring with it and what song would play for the Final Smash. Most of Guitar Hero is licensed tracks that can't be used, though there are some solos or other tracks that could be included. But a much more fun and wild choice would be to make classic rock and metal remixes of the themes of the franchises in the game. I just think this would be great and could fill out the playlist beautifully, with some themes not even needing much work. With that in mind, the Final Smash would play a solo section of the theme of the game the stage is based on. I kinda love the idea of a stereotypical rocker being the music rep Smash would choose. It's just a great aesthetic with a ton of style and attitude. Your stage could be cool too, either being a dingy local venue or a huge arena or something more like Lou's Inferno. I will admit that this moveset isn't the most rhythmic, but there are plenty of solutions if we wanted to go even further. Setting your own tempo as I outlined before, certain moves having a set rhythm you would need to master, a tempo based on the stage's backing track, something like that. Regardless of how you would approach it, building a character around a rhythm mechanic would be super fun, and few series come to mind for me other than Guitar Hero. Without a backup moveset for the Rhythm Fighter, we head into episode 8's Ice Fighter. This was more of a thematic episode coming out in December, but there were surprisingly a ton of shared elements between potential reps that I knew had to be used in this kind of moveset. Obviously, freezing enemies is a key element that had to be here. There were other common factors as well though, such as fast, sharp icicle attacks, building walls of ice, making the environment slick and slippery, and adding ice to yourself as protective armor. There were plenty of choices I was looking at for this, but I chose to stick to my Metroid roots and select Rundas from Metroid Prime 3. Often competing in fan discussion over another hunter for the Smash roster, Rundas would be able to reference a lot of elements from Prime and other hunters. His default look would be that of his initial appearance, with alternating swaps using his PED suit appearance when he becomes the enemy. There would be a pink, purple, and blue alt to reference Gandrada and Noxus, a silver and orange alt for Gore, a red alt for Trace, a blue and green alt for Silex, a brown and orange alt for Spire, and a black and lime alt for Candon. You'd also get his cool personality across with his taunts, faking an attack with a short chuckle, creating a frost vortex around his weapon that bursts into snow, and rising a little off the ground surrounded in an ice spire. But let's actually get into his moveset and how he fits the theme. Rundas would feel close enough to Samus except faster in movement and attack speed. His attacks would generally be weaker to necessitate clever use of his ice abilities. He would also be a little taller, though only slightly heavier than Samus, being a bit more durable. His jab is a 2-hit with a swift strike and inward slash with an ice blade spawning around his arm. F tilt is a longer range horizontal ice blade slash. Up tilt is an uppercut slash. Down tilt slides along the ground with frost bursting in front. And dash attack is a charge forward, forming frost into a jagged wall in front of you. Aerials would more or less be similar to the grounded moves with maybe a couple kicks, and grabs and throws would stay fairly simple with big physical attacks and no tether grab. Your smash attacks and specials really start to make you dangerous and go wild with the ice concept. F smash is ice block, spawning and hurling a huge chunk of ice forward that feels like a Bayo F smash in practice. Up smash generates a massive ice shard that you spin over your head, while down smash fires winding blast of ice along the ground, first behind then in front, ending in a burst of cold. For specials, neutral B is actually 2 moves, tapping launches and ice missile, dealing hefty damage and knockback and slowing enemies down who are repeatedly hit. Holding B will instead charge an ice beam shot, instantly freezing whoever it's hit. Side B is ice pillars, again having 2 uses. Tapping the button will spawn a pillar below you, raising you off the ground about a platform's height and staying as a structure on the stage for a little bit. Charging this move shows ice spreading along the ground, released into large pillars and shards of ice, blasting from the ground, hurting enemies, and staying on the stage until melting. In this way, Rundas could alter the battlefield similar to his boss fight. Up B uses another iconic element with his ice surfing. A mix of a Star Fox recovery and Greninja's up B, this shows Rundas creating ice below him to surf forward on, harming foes in his way. And down B is ice armor, holding the button until fully building a layer of armor around yourself that lessens incoming damage and decays as you take more. His final smash is a move called Cryokinetic Explosion, encompassing the stage in deep ice, with a whirling mass of frost hindering movement and giant pillars and walls of ice appearing, freezing and launching any one hit. Rundas is a fantastic choice for not only an ice fighter but also a Metroid rep, representing the ice type weapons that are lacking in Samus's moveset despite their importance to the franchise. He could have a cool stage as well, whether it be his boss arena on Brio or an elaborate Norion stage in the middle of a space pirate raid. While I very much enjoy the character, at this point with Metroid there are other characters who I think would fit better and be more relevant. But before we move on, I did have two backup concepts that I more or less only made specials for. One of these was Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, not my first Mortal Kombat moveset and seen in the episode from Pizza Dude. With the plenty of fighting game reps we've seen, they generally try to convey the spirit of their game in different ways. With Sub-Zero, you could still have him always face the opponent in a one-on-one, but the main concept I toyed with for him were tilts that functioned more like Marth's side B. Once you started the attack with your tilt of choice, you could then push in different directions to create different combos with each strike. They wouldn't be as long as some of Kazuya's, probably like 4 or 5 moves. Some things in the moveset would be more set though, like down tilt always starting with the slide, stronger moves using large ice axes for finishers, and dash attack using cold shoulder. His neutral B should be fairly obvious, being Ice Ball, freezing enemies. Side B is the Death Sickle Barrage, similar to Sheik's neutral B. Up B is Rising Ice, launching you upwards from a pillar of ice that stays on stage or disappears in the air. And down B is called Thin Ice, which uses a couple elements from Mortal Kombat. It's a command grab like Incineroar, but where you aim them, they'll instead slam into a wall of ice and be momentarily stunned, making it a great setup tool. And your final smash would either be called Fatality or Icecutioner, completely freezing enemies and breaking them off the stage with an explosive punch. While I may not have the most know-how to pitch the character, I would love to see Mortal Kombat in Smash one day. My other backup was Mei from Overwatch, which I won't dwell on for too long because screw that company, but as I've shown before, Overwatch characters translate to Smash pretty well. B is Endothermic Blaster, freezing enemies. Side B is Icicle, quick, sharp, and highly deadly if precise. Up B is Ice Wall, lifting you up and spawning a wall on the stage. Down B is Cryo Freeze, encasing you in ice for protection and dropping you like Kirby. And final smash is Blizzard, with the Vortex freezing enemies. Both of these characters fit the theme pretty well, with Sub-Zero being a clear choice over Mei, but Rundas still being my favorite choice for the episode. For Felicia Fan's guest appearance in episode 9, we chose to upgrade assist trophies to fully playable fighters. There's no overarching gameplay theme here, as each character had their own unique stuff going on. I had two main choices here, with my main proposal being Callie and Marie, aka the Squid Sisters from Splatoon. My goal with them was to bring in some abandoned elements of Splatoon not seen in Inkling, along with a duo fighter with a big emphasis on their pop star and secret agent dynamic. For their duo gimmick, I went for a mix of Ice Climbers and Pyramithra, built off of a Shoddy Snipes archetype. The idea here is you would only control one at a time while the other acts as a CPU companion assisting in battle, but you'd be able to switch between the two to change who's in control and what weapons you're using. Damage also stays individual and consistent for the two, and it is possible to have one die and lose the ability to swap. Their distinct characteristics would change their specials as well as the manner in which they assist you. Callie is the shotgun field, playing aggressively and dealing damage quicker while preferring to stay close range. While in support mode, Callie would stay fairly close to you, dealing damage faster but making it easier to hit both of you. On the other hand, Marie takes a standoffish approach, focusing on range and slower, stronger attacks. While following Callie, Marie sits back a little, spreading your attack range a little farther and staggering blows, but making it easier to separate the two. Getting into the moveset, I didn't really chart out most attacks here as I focused on the gimmick. Along with that, the majority of attacks would be some kind of dance or performance moves, making it kind of hard to pick and choose specific examples. Some moves would have the sisters attack in the same direction, others would have the two step and dance in opposite directions. Smash attacks would be blunt smacks with their weapon, while the other gestures grandly for effect. On the whole, compared to Inkling, the Squid Sisters would be more character focused and less about the Splatoon arsenal, being a little slower and having each sister be less individually powerful but stronger together. They would maintain other Inkling mechanics though, with ink boosted damage to foes and needing to squid up to recover ink, though less moves use it. Speaking of, let's get into the 4 main moves that do use ink with the specials. Neutral B is the sisters' primary weapons. For Callie, that means the Hero Blaster, which doesn't really exist but is the closest to the Rapid Blaster, and they already have the ink roller in the game, so I wanted to go with something else. This shoots an extremely strong close range blast with a fire rate of a little under a second. It won't travel far, but if she gets close enough, it could be an early death. Marie instead uses the Hero Charger, tapping to shoot a weaker, decent range shot or holding for an immensely strong, far-reaching sniper blast, reaching across most stages. Their other ink moves would be their side B, the sub-weapons. For Kahl's consistent damage style, that means throwing out a Sprinkler, lobbing it onto a floor or wall while it sprays consistently, damaging nearby enemies for about 8 seconds. For Marie's aloof attitude, she gets the Splash Wall. Throwing it down in front of her, the Splash Wall will prevent projectiles from passing and damaging and instantly ink enemies who walk through, though it can be broken with a few strong hits. As for their shared moves, up B is a twin super jump like Inkling, and down B is your switch button. Because these two can travel farther apart than the ice climbers, a radio icon will be down with your damage and character portrait, lighting up when in range to switch or going dark when too far apart. This will stop any really cheap recoveries. Lastly, your final smash is Splatfest. This would be fairly similar to their assist trophy, performing one of a few songs, drawing the camera in, rocking surrounding enemies with sound waves. But off-screen, Inklings would be blasting the stage with ink as well, set to the 2 colors of your current palette swap. So besides a couple other fun options like other potential Splatoon stages and a victory screen being a news report, that was my primary choice for the theme. The other was one we're far less likely to see, as they didn't even return as an assist trophy in Ultimate. Once upon a time, Custom Robo was represented in the game by way of the Ray Mark III Assist Trophy. We were lucky enough to get a costume in Ultimate, but it's clear Custom Robo isn't as relevant as it used to be. The unique gimmick and major drawback of this choice to upgrade an assist trophy is the size. This little bot would be about the size of Olimar, tiny, fast, and best in the air with a hover. It would feel kind of like Mega Man mixed with Min Min and equip a bunny hood, flying around the stage but being extremely light and easy to kill. Your goal as this fighter would be consistent movement and pressure to keep enemies away and avoid getting hit. It's a really interesting concept, but would be very easy to screw up and make totally unplayable, and besides a couple moves, I have a hard time fully envisioning a moveset. I did know a couple things such as that A, F tilt, Nair, and Fair would use the basic gun, firing volleys of green shots quickly with decent range and homing just slightly at enemies. Your dash attack would use the Magnum, a short, strong blast like Meat Gunner. Some other guns would definitely make an appearance throughout like the Gatling gun and Vertical gun. F smash would be the 3-way gun with a burst of 3 lined up shots. Up smash is the Rayfall gun, firing straight up and launching down on a diagonal towards the nearest enemy if it doesn't do damage immediately. And down smash is the flame gun, shooting to both sides. Neutral B is the Dragon Gun, a classic power weapon shooting a huge energy dragon with great range and power. It's slow and can be easily blocked, but it'll also home to enemies and be just a bit under a Falcon Punch. Side B is your Bomb, a standard bomb that lobs and explodes. Up B is Dash, kind of like Falco's side B, but in any direction without falling after, meaning you don't have a real recovery but have crazy movement options. And down B is your basic Pod, firing 2 slow homing torpedoes that explode on impact or after a short time. And for your final smash, I don't really have a set idea, but I'd like to see other robos joining the fight and raining fire on the stage. Aesthetically, I love this fighter, with little touches like shooting out as a cube from a cannon and bursting out for your stage intro, but like I said, I doubt we'll be seeing much of Custom Robo anytime soon. For the final episode of this collection, episode 10 gave us the theme of basic generic mobs. This gave us a wide variety of options, but on the whole, we wanted to choose iconic enemies that felt like they could be fully realized and represent their class of enemy in the same way as Piranha Plant. In that vein, Mario has a slew of iconic enemies that would all work in this spot, and we saw Pizza Dude take on another with Cheep Cheep. For me though, I was drawn to the lovable metal ball with teeth, Chain Chomp. Chain Chomp would be heavy and powerful, but suffer in mobility, hopping slowly and having poor aerial skills. With a few exceptions, Chain Chomp's attacks would all be basic physical strikes and movement inspired by its appearances throughout the Mario games. Jab would be a single strong bite, slightly moving forward. F tilt whips with your chain, up tilt hops up with a headbutt, down tilt rolls you forward like DDD, and your dash attack is an arched lunge like when a Chain Chomp is freed of its post. Aerials remain basic with a bite for Nair, another charging lunge for Fair, spinning the chain around for up air, whipping with the chain for Bear, and plummeting with a ground pound for Dare. To grab, you would whip your chain in front of you and entangle enemies, biting them for a pummel and throwing them with whips, bites, and headbutts. Starting smash attacks with down smash, this would be another ground pound, jumping and slamming down like K-Rool. F smash and up smash are a little more complicated, inspired by Chain Chomp's main attack while stuck in one spot. Both of these would be your lunge bite. While charging, a stake would appear, locking you to one part of the stage as you bounce up and down. Upon release, you would fly forward with a huge deadly bite, able to aim your attack in a 45-degree radius. This would allow you to attack basically anywhere up into the sides of you, really feeling like you're controlling a chain chomp the way they normally function. Getting into specials, B is a huge charged bite forward, like Wondering, but able to be aimed. Side B is a top spin forward, dealing out repeated hits like Rob. Up B is called Platform, spawning a floating platform you control as chain chomp dangles below. You would be able to bite while moving by tapping A, but it can be destroyed, so it's a risky recovery. And down B is Overheat, inspired by Mario Sunshine, holding the button to charge up and make you faster and more powerful, wearing off as you give and take damage. Your final smash would be Mega Chomp, growing to an enormous size and charging in a straight line, biting enemies in front of you with a single rush. With palette swaps based on various appearances and other enemies, and a classic mode route about trapped characters breaking free, Chain Chomp would be a really fun, cute addition to Smash, though I don't know if we need another generic Mario mob out of all the possibilities. I do have one final moveset that was my backup for this theme, but I considered so many options. My other Mario pick was a Boo, but I couldn't really figure out a not getting seen attacking from behind gimmick. I also considered a Bulborb or some kind of other Pikmin representation, but it just wasn't there. I turned to shooters as well, considering an Elite from Halo with a great arsenal of alien weapons but feeling too loose and generic, or a Doom enemy like a Cacodemon or Revenant with more personality and set attacks, but not doing great for a full moveset. Finally, I considered some kind of zombie, a staple enemy in all of video games. While I wasn't able to decide on one that would be fun, PK King wound up doing a great moveset for a zombie from Plants vs. Zombies. But what was my other choice should Chain Chomp have been selected by someone else? It was a Guardian from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. These things can be notoriously intimidating and deadly, and it would feel no different with them on the Smash roster. Even scaled down, it'd be the biggest fighter horizontally and close to the tallest. Another super heavy, bad in the air like Chain Chomp, the Guardian would be all about rushing down enemies with quicker attacks and using careful timing for powerful finishers. However, being bad in the air was more of a detriment to Guardian's moveset potential than Chain Chomp. Unlike Chain Chomp, which has been seen in the air and at least hops around, Guardians are very grounded enemies, meaning I didn't have any great ideas for aerials or ways to make it look good. There's still plenty to like though, whether it's its iconic attacks or aesthetic touches like putting out a Guardian shield for its shield animation. Its basics would be stabs or swipes with its sharp legs, or throwing its weight around, pushing itself up for up tilt and running you over with a multi-hit for its dash attack. It would also grab you with these legs, stabbing you with another, and whipping you around for throws. With the various versions of Guardians from Breath of the Wild, I pulled smash attacks from the Guardian Scouts. F smash is a sideways slash with a Guardian Battle Axe, up smash is a straight stab up slightly in front of you with the Guardian Spear, and down smash is a slash downwards with a Guardian Sword. And for specials, of course, neutral B is the Guardian Laser. It would lock onto the nearest fighter initially, but you can move the left stick to aim it freely, firing a quick deadly blast after a couple seconds. Side B is a Guardian Blade Rush, as seen with the Guardian Scouts. Up B also comes from the Scouts with the Spinning Beam. On the ground, you would spin and blast a consistent laser along the ground, damaging enemies and creating a windbox pushing foes off the ground. In the air, it would do a much quicker spin, damaging foes below you and lifting you upwards. Down B also comes from the Scouts, firing a quick barrage of 4 explosive shots along the ground. And its final smash is called Calamity, something along the lines of releasing darkness onto the stage, maybe summoning the Blights or Calamity Ganon or something like that. Alongside a proper Ganon's Castle stage and alts based on its various forms and other Zelda enemies, the Guardian has become an iconic Zelda enemy that would be great to see, though it may be limited in its full offensive potential. And that covers episodes 6 through 10. Let me know what you think and which moveset was your favorite, and be sure to go check out the full episodes to see what awesome ideas the guys came up with. I'll be releasing Collection 3 very soon, which will cover my movesets for episodes 11 through 14 and be my last video for the series. Stay tuned to check that out and all my other Smash videos this month as I wrap up my time in Smash Ultimate. Be sure to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.